with plenty of hobby as well with this new lockdown. Lots of opportunities there. So this week, as some of you may have seen on the little advertisement, we have got a very, very, very special kind of episode. We've not really done this before, but we have got our interview with Gaz and Mark, and they're the authors of the new D-Day British and Canadian Sectors book.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that because Mark's been around for a long time writing different books. I think this was his fourth, he says in the interview.
Fourth or fifth, yeah.
I think under his belt, I believe, was Battle of France at the very least. Yep. I can't remember specifically. Battle of the Bulge, there we go. And he does bring this up in the thing, so you don't have to just go for our bad memory. One moment, if you'd like to film.
But, so obviously it's a really good little chance to see how kind of a bit more of an insight than we can give into how a book kind of comes about and what it's like kind of being one of our authors, one of our content creators, and maybe some inspiration for some people, and for other people just a really nice little look into the inner workings of Warlord. So it's a lot of questions.
Quite Warlord.
A lot of questions in there that I kind of wanted to ask for myself because I didn't know and I was interested to find out. So hopefully, you guys will too.
Yeah. Obviously, a lot of new stuff around at the moment as well. So I've been seeing a lot of people. I'm going to give 10 minutes before we start on the actual interview, just to let people filter in. So if you know anyone who normally watches who can't see in chat, let them know.
Someone get on the Cruel Seas board and let Mike know that we are starting at 6.
And so I've been seeing a lot of people doing the American Civil War stuff lately. So that's been fun because. Tobias, one of the guys who works here, I don't know if many people on the stream would know him.
If you go to our shows, back in the days where we could go to events and shows, Tobias is our events coordinator. Was our events coordinator. Now left to play professional ice hockey for a little while, which is just super cool. Has come back, obviously, with the pandemic shutting all the sports down, and is now kind of on the events team and nebulously does lots of things. Very cool guy, very important guy for the company. But you know him from there, if anything.
Yeah. He was working on his Union to start with for the American Civil War. I don't know if you've seen them. And I was pretty happy. I thought the Union looked pretty cool. But recently he's posted the Confeds. And they look way more interesting, I think. And I think they will when they're a big group because he's got the core grey uniforms, but he's added in like beige trousers, button-up jackets, different hats and stuff like that. And I think as a collection, they're going to look way nicer on the tabletop. So
my housemate Nick, who is in our Warlord resin casting, used to be a metal casting, he's now gone to resin casting, is occasionally active on the chat as Ladle Monkey. His room at our house is currently full. I think he's got about 3 or 4 brigades now.
Sounds about right. That's how many I've got.
In various stages of painting. He's just absolutely churning those guys out. So it's really interesting to see a lot of people that have never necessarily done kind of anything smaller than 28mm before, just getting to grips with what a new scale's like. And I think a lot of people are really relishing the chance to go, I'm putting down 1,000 models. Which is super cool. It's definitely one of the things, one of the attractions of playing in a small scale. It's just sheer number of bodies on table.
Haggard is saying that the Antares board in the background behind you, he saw a Partisan.
I actually look. That's one of my favourite boards that we've done. It's just I'm actually gonna.
Ooh, let's see what you can break.
Yeah. I mean, is that picking up nicely in frame?
Turn it. Yeah.
I can't turn it too much because it's not stacked down.
Then leave it there.
So this, it was actually designed as a little in-store diorama display.
That makes sense.
And we've got one of these for bolt action as well.
Good for like a mini-game sort of thing.
Yeah, well, we've got one of these for bolt action, which is bocage.
There's something about our set. We've got the fridge there, but it doesn't work as a fridge, but is used as stationary. At home, I've got the tumble dryer.
Yes. I've got a collection of weapons in the corner of my room. Sadly, my internet is. I'm loving that branding there, Max.
Warlord Games liquid. Yummy, yummy.
What do you mean, Max? Have you not got your Warlord Games branded liquid?
Yeah, but the tea's really hot, so we're going for the canned version.
Yeah, canned heat going up the country.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing bolt action Vietnam. But no,
I think new rule. I think we can go public with this. I'm sure it's been mentioned enough times. Every time someone asks for Bolt Action Vietnam, we postpone the release date by 5 days.
So at this
rate, it'll be 100 years anniversary of the start of Vietnam is when we'll actually get the Bolt Action, but that's only if everyone behaves.
We couldn't call it Bolt Action Vietnam though. We'd have to call it like gas operated or select fire or something.
Yeah.
You know, there's not that many bolt action rifles in use in Vietnam. You've kind of got some of your USMC. I can't remember which
Springer rifles or something.
It was their sniper's rifle. I can't remember which one it was. It was either a Winchester or a Remington that they then went and built up themselves. Yeah. Forgotten Weapons has some really cool videos on things like that. Ian really knows his stuff. Actually, while we're here, I do want to plug a friend of ours. Who is a Second World War historian. He's very much focused, actually, on the Normandy campaign, so on the European Theatre of Operations, very relevant to...
I can post a link, you keep talking.
Yes, very relevant to, basically, what we're going to be discussing and talking about tonight, and with the new book. There's a gentleman called Jonathan Ware. He's
This is not available to you, thanks Twitter.
He's an excellent historian. He posts quite regularly. He's actually doing one post a day. I don't know how long for, but he set himself some kind of mad challenge of one thread a day, breaking down in some really interesting detail elements of the European Theatre of Operations. You can find him at Twitter.
Yeah, I'm just about to share it now.
History.
There you go. So here's today's
Which on
thread that he went. Yeah, which on I thought that was very interesting.
That was really cool. Yesterday,
not much use for our games, but interesting.
Yesterday's was on why didn't German troops on the Western Front simply collapse like the Allies were anticipating. Very knowledgeable bloke.
Like legit historian.
Yeah, he's
not like historian in the way that I am.
No, he's a proper historian. He reads books, but he also is writing books. So
he published yet?
Coming out soon.
Okay. I don't give that a read.
He's
entertaining.
He is also sometimes in our chat. So I'm not going to give his name away though.
Yeah, if he is, banning him tonight. I wish I had that power. I do have that power.
You do have that power, Max.
I'm going to try and ban one of our co-workers just to see how it works.
But yeah, so that's kind of plug over. He's actually someone we'd quite like to have on. Obviously, this is the first time we've ever done an interview with someone for the Twitch. Obviously, because of firstly COVID, secondly scheduling, we basically pre-recorded this. This was all done on Saturday.
Yep.
And basically we sat down and had a Zoom call and Max did some technical magic, which I really don't understand, and made it all work.
Yep.
And what we've done is we've chopped it up into nice segments.
I sacrificed 3 cameras to a god you've never heard of.
I did wonder why you'd grown a third leg.
That's where the moustache went. That was the other sacrifice. Oh yes, Stumpy. I keep seeing a different person in the mirror. It's terrifying.
You are. It's he's very streamlined. It helps him paint faster.
Paint underwater a lot.
That's how you get your wet blending so good. But no.
You're not painting in the shower. You're not a pro.
I tried, but I keep dropping things. No. Where was I before that bizarro tangent? Yes. When we recorded this interview. We've chopped it up into like question by question chunks. So what we're going to do is we're going to play, basically clips from this interview. We're going to be monitoring the chat while you're watching these little chunks of the interview, and then we'll kind of break and answer any questions you folks might have in the chat after each chunk, kind of between each chunk. And let us know what you think about the format. Let us know if you'd like to see more interviews and stuff like this kind of content, and more behind the scenes stuff, and we'll see what we can arrange.
Yeah, it's something I'd like to do more of as well.
Certainly.
So without further ado, go on.
We've done interviews before, kind of as us. We've done some stuff with the Juggernauts. And
we've always been the interviewees or the guests on like a generic chat.
Yeah, we've never been the interviewers.
We definitely was the guest of honours at the Juggernauts.
No, we led off pretty much. I maintain that our thing about me being a Russian sleeper agent was very revealing.
Oh, fair enough.
But yeah, I think let's crack on with it, shall we?
So everyone in chat, let us know if this doesn't come through volume-wise. I have play-tested this a teeny bit, but this is the first question. I'm going to pause it and then just mess around with the settings briefly. So
3.
On, pause.
So, Hi guys, we have Gaz and Mark with us. Obviously Marcus and myself are here as well. Up first is the first question. A little bit about yourself. Who are you? What's your connection to bolt action and gaming at large? Obviously some of our audience probably have read your book at this point, but they might not know much about yourselves. So if you'd like to give a little bit of a background on what you are and what makes you tick, that'd be great.
Go on, Mark, you're more important.
I don't know about that, but let's see me then. My name is Mark Barber. I'm one of the authors who write supplements for Bolt Action, amongst other bits and bobs. So this is the one we're talking about today is my fourth Bolt Action book. I got involved in the hobby in secondary school, same as loads of people. Got to university and drifted away from it. Got back into it again about 10 years after that. I've been kind of writing on and off for the last 6 years of Bolt Action.
Wow, very impressive. If I don't mind me quickly asking, would you let us know which the other books you wrote for us is?
Right, from memory. What did I do? I started off with my first one was Battle of the Bulge. Then after that, New Guinea was the next one after that. Battle of France after that one. This one, D-Day, the British and Canadian sectors. And then after this, watch this space coming out soon, is D-Day, the American sector with Gaz.
Very nice. So Gaz, if you'd like to do much the same.
Yeah, so been gaming in the hobby since about 1999. That's when I started. Pretty much carried on through. Same as Mark, had a bit of a... In the teenagers, it went off it a bit, and when we got to college, started up, and then I really got with university, so instead I ended up working for Games Workshop. Yay! So, like many of us, worked for Workshop, and then I've just sort of continued on with hobbying stuff. And got into Bolt Action a few years back with one of my American friends, who me and a chap called Frank started playing Lincoln, and then we sort of started going to tournaments, and I started everyone, and as soon as I started doing better at tournaments and and then winning various stuff, and then I started running them, and then I don't know I can't remember how. I think I sent Mark a random sarcastic Facebook message about some stuff. That's sort of how we started chatting, and how he sort of invited me on board. But yeah, that's pretty much my history of Bolt Action and gaming.
Yeah,
Nice.
It started sarcastic and went very sycophantic, like having like a fanboy quite quickly. And I really enjoyed that. So I just thought, yeah, brilliant. This guy's on board. He's got all the right stuff.
He didn't do something embarrassing like inviting you onto a Twitch channel for a fake interview just to get like some FaceTime or anything like that, did he?
So
This Twitch stream is PG, isn't it?
yeah. So kind of following on, actually, kind of a nice one. You guys have touched on how you kind of got to know each other a little bit, and how you kind of got involved with the game. How did you guys get into the kind of the team of you two for writing this book, and getting into writing rules for Warlord?
I guess it was me first, wasn't it? So shall I kick off on that one? I started off writing for Osprey, who, so I'm not an author in terms of my day job. It's just a kind of evenings and weekends, something I do on the side. And I'd written a few titles for Osprey, Second World War and First World War history stuff. Cool. Then I stepped away to do some consultancy stuff for a PlayStation game company. And when I went back to Osprey, the subject of Bolt Action came up, so that's how I got in touch with Warlord. And I started off writing internet articles. They went okay. So Battle of the Bulge came out of that, and then skip ahead a few years and cross paths with Gaz. So playtesters who actually do the playtesting and understand the game are worth their weight in gold, and that's how I started off with Gaz. And it was only when we started to talk about more of the ideas and realised that we both approach these books and these games, Bolt Action, from different angles. I err more towards the historic side. Gaz, with loads of historical knowledge, but still errs more towards the tournament side. But we both can kind of see over the fence and see where the other guy's coming from. So it works really well to kind of meet in the middle, very amicably, and that so we kind of tested the waters with this book, and then because it worked so well with this book, that's why we kind of went into a full 50-50 partnership for the American sector book.
So a really good kind of team going on there. It is really a team effort.
Yeah, pretty much. I'd say we sort of balance each other out a bit, and it's really good because you can sort of do some work and then you can check it against each other and go, oh, that's like, he'll come back to me and go, that doesn't really quite fit that theme, you know, historically does that make sense? Whereas then, you know, I can go back and go, oh, that unit's a bit pants, it's not really got much punch, it's a bit pointless. You know, we sort of counterbalance each other, and not really in a negative way either. Like, it's not like, oh, your work's rubbish. We sort of both read each other's. The two in and the throw in's quite handy, really. We'll have to wait and see what people think, but yeah.
Well, I've had a flick through and it's looking very good. So I'm just going to pause up and we're going to start on the second question. So 3. So.
So that was the first segment. I hope everyone enjoyed that. So I think the next few I'm just going to let roll through as we go.
That's where the extra audio was coming from.
But yes, I'm just going to let the next couple just play themselves through, but I hope we're all enjoying that. Just a quick note, if anyone has any questions, we will be answering them in the sidebar as we go, or we can stop in between like we've just done here. Yeah. But I think otherwise I'm just going to let this roll unless anyone has any particularly burning questions.
Works for me.
Just give me a minute to load up the next one.
So yeah, like I say, let us know what you think as well, and the interview will chug on. Tell your mates.
So obviously this book's the British and Canadians. So obviously with this book's the British and Canadian sectors in Normandy. Is that an area of particular interest for you both? Or was it more a case of, you know, you knew a book was going to be coming from us and you got asked to write the book, and then you learned about the sector to make the book?
I mean, Normandy in general, I think, I find it very interesting. I wouldn't say my particular point of interest. I wouldn't have chosen this myself. Basically, the title got offered to Mark, and then he asked if I wanted to jump on board. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I know a fair chunk about Normandy already. It won't take much more to do some in-depth research, but yeah, the more and more I worked on it, the more and more I found it a lot more interesting. But yeah, no, I think especially from a Western, especially like a British perspective, you know, Normandy's pretty big. It's a big deal, especially for, you know, all the fighting that went on, etc. But no, what about you, Mark?
It was the other way around with me. This was like the top choice. This was the top prize. I was really excited by it. It's like if you start to get into World War II aviation, there's a very good chance you'll drift towards the Battle of Britain. If you were to get into Napoleonic era naval combat, the Battle of Trafalgar is going to leap out. And likewise, World War II Western Front, you know, kind of land warfare. Normandy is the big campaign, and I just come off the back of doing Battle of France and another couple of books for another couple of companies, and was absolutely shattered with the writing. And I'd said to Paul Sawyer, I've kind of taken a break here now. And then there was a bit of a, really? The Normandy books here? Are you sure you want to? And it was like, no, I'm in. So yeah, I was supposed to be easing off the gas, but when this one came around in the release schedule, I was really happy to get the opportunity to get stuck into it.
Excellent. So it's very much, again, kind of two sides of the same coin.
Pretty much.
A consistent theme.
So, what was something you were particularly interested on working on regarding theatre selectors, themed lists? Was there one that you kind of had in mind for both of you going into this when you heard about the project?
I'll kick off, shall I, on this one. The first article I wrote for Bolt Action was the 4/7 Royal Marine Commando list, which was just me looking through armies of Great Britain, seeing the commando stuff and going, I think we could dig a bit deeper there. And I got a lot of feedback that that list was getting used in tournaments a lot more than I thought it ever would. So when this one came around, I thought that's the first thing I ever did for Bolt Action, and with a few years of experience, I reckon I can do it better. So given that, I mean, fair enough, the Commandos' involvement was very heavy on the 6th of June, but it didn't end there. It did go into the Normandy campaign. So that was the part I was the most excited about getting stuck into. What do you reckon for you guys?
I think for me, I've always had a soft spot. You'll probably see this in a lot of my units and stuff. I quite like extremes. I either like really, really elite forces or really, really shockingly bad forces. I never tend to go in the middle, and think that's where, again, with that balance sort of stuff. I don't want to say Mark Britton or the average guys, but for most of it, he's done a lot of the standard troops, whereas I've gone to the extremes of either side. But for me, I used to reenact Offer, and I've always found the Luftwaffe Field Division especially quite interesting. And I couldn't wait to sort of get my teeth into it. And I think it was after we'd done some sort of foundation work on the book, that was the first thing I came to, was the Luftwaffe Field Division.
Nice. And then on the elite end, were you the 12th SS Panzer? Was that you as well, Gaz?
Yeah, I wouldn't call them elite.
Yeah.
Because aren't they listed veteran in the rulebook?
I mean, you can take them as anything. You can take them as it's an SS. It's an SS unit. Now, one thing that a lot of people seem to be very confused about, because everyone's going, "Oh, you can use the little children models." No. The 12th SS Hitlerjugend wasn't the Hitler Youth. It says it on the tin, Hitler Youth, but it wasn't. It was a fully fledged SS division. Granted, they were very, very young, but they were not 5 and 6, 7-year-olds. They were fully trained up SS fighting men. Yeah.
There you go. No need to model them in 172. The standard 28 mils will suffice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I actually really like that. I've got an SS army. It's my main army. It's my first SS. And just looking through the book, there's a ton of new stuff that, yeah, like you say, not just taking them as veteran, which is super cool.
We're back.
So, Mark, you were saying?
Yeah, sorry. It's one of the sort of common misconceptions, I guess, about the Waffen SS is that this amazingly elite fighting force, and in some cases that's true. In some cases, it couldn't be further from the truth. There's and certainly the further downstream you go into World War II, the laxer the entry requirements get, the more compressed the training is. So that was what Gaz was kind of going with the rules, that saying that you've got the inexperienced and regular options now, and then there's all the special rules on top of that as well, which I'll let Gaz mention.
I feel like it was a funny one. I wanted to do something really different. I'd seen in Battleground Europe, the 12th SS have got these sort of ad hoc rules in Battleground Europe that they're a bit, I wanted to expand on them further and sort of replace those rules. You can use these rules in addition to, instead of those ones. I wanted to really sort of try and reflect the real, suicidal fanaticism these guys had. You bring some of the accounts when you start doing the research, and they were absolutely nuts. Now, I realise not a lot of Canadians will actually like these guys because of some of the horrendous war crimes, but we've got to sort of take away it's awful to say it, but you've got to take away the realism and the nasty stuff that happened, the war crimes and all that sort of stuff, and put it to one side, because at the end of the day, when we're talking sold, and the list that I came up with, I think it should be a bit of fun. I challenge anybody to take it to a tournament, because I reckon you could have a laugh with it. There are definitely some ways of making it work, especially if you take senior officers, it'll help out, but I reckon it'll be a bit of a laugh to play with.
Nice. So I'm going to end up this question and we'll move on to the next one. So I don't know when we started the rules process for writing a book like this, but have you had any difficulties with playtesting the rules for this book due to the pandemic situation, or for any potential books that are in the pipeline? So, like I say, I don't know what the lead time on something like this would be.
I think lead time on these is pretty big. We haven't been affected by COVID at all, I'd say, Mark, even with the second book.
I think it's tail end of the second book it was happening, but with this one, with the British Canadian sector one, this was all before the outbreak. But yeah, certainly the tail end of it caught the American book, and that started to have an impact there when you kind of organised playtesting sessions and handed out key parts to you guys, and then you kind of get a response saying, I'm now isolated and I can't play the game with anyone. So it certainly slowed things down a little bit there.
I mean, we've discussed this actually, because we have been talking about other projects and that sort of stuff, and it's the one thing that actually came up on the phone call conversation the other night was, yeah, but what about playtesting? I'm like, yeah, playtesting not really going to happen, especially UK especially. We're all can't mix. You know what I mean? It's next to impossible. I taught my missus how to play, but it's not quite the same.
Yeah, I mean, and it's such a vital part of the process as well, because you can write something and then you can read it back, and if you will naturally write rules and scenarios and whatever it is in the way you individually understand it. So you've got to have that second pair of eyes, and testing your own stuff just doesn't really work. I mean, for a kind of gross error check for really rough stuff, yeah, but when it comes to fine tuning it, you really do need someone else, an outside pair of eyes looking in.
That makes sense, because even with the rules that have been around forever, you look on the Facebook pages and the forums and things like that, people still find new ways to interpret it. So I can only imagine what it's like on the primary draft before you've had any eyes on it.
Yeah.
Of course, I think that's it for that.
So actually following on really nicely from talking about playtesting being so important, I think we're interested, I think a lot of our viewers would be very interested if you could take us through the process of what it's like writing rules for a new unit, how many revisions, how many tweaks it sees before it hits the tabletop, and especially units where we're introducing new rules like intelligence officers, for example.
I bet we've got two very different processes, me and Gareth.
Yeah. You start, Mark, because you're the one that wrote Intelligent Officers.
Intelligence officers, there's a paradox. So for me, if it was, say, a squad, a section of some description, first thing I'll do is go to the TOE, hit the history books. So, for example, we're working on the American book recently. So finding all of the organisation and equipment tables for pluck from thin air, a US armoured reconnaissance company, whatever it might be. And go through it. Unfortunately, if you can find these will tell you exactly how many men are in each unit, and depending on which country has produced it, it'll tell you exactly the distribution of weapons, down to how many magazines of ammunition each individual is supposed to carry, how many bombs each is supposed to carry for the section's mortar, all of this stuff. So you've got every little bit of information there. So then I'd take that and then split it down into how would I put this onto a tabletop. So then you split it down into units, because it doesn't always translate exactly. So for example, again, looking at the Americans, it may well be that a squad has a sharpshooter. That sharpshooter is your sniper, but they're attached to the squad. They're not an individual, and they're not all operating in a pair, even though practically on the battlefield they would detach, and in bolt action they will. So you kind of just draw it out almost on a piece of paper in front of you, and then start sticking circles around what I can make a unit out of, and then kind of go from there. So fortunately, in terms of all the points, it's all already there anyway. It's all already standardized. And then if it starts to become something a little bit more different and a little bit more unique, then you sort of start to try and think of, how can I put a special rule on this which is going to add a bit of flavour but isn't going to break the game? Because if there's any doubt, err on the side of being weaker rather than stronger. Because if you can't absolutely nail the balance, it's better to make a unit no one will take, rather than a unit everyone will take, because it's ruined the game. So yeah, always sort of err on the side of caution, I think, with new stuff. But that's roughly my process.
See,
Really interesting.
whereas what I kind of do this similar, but what I'll do is I'll read, because generally speaking, especially in the Normandy campaign, I've already got a relatively decent understanding of what's happened and what units were there. But then I'll try and deep dive into those units that I'm doing and do some proper research. Now, I'm not just talking about Wikipedia and YouTube. I mean, proper research, books. We've got a few connections at various museums and that sort of thing, where we've got proper historians. I say proper historians. They've got access to source material that really helps. Now, I do a deep dive and read some more into this narrative, and then I'll read about a certain unit or something and go, ooh, that sounds fun. And then what I'll do is I'll do exactly the same as what Mark has done. I'll try and find some unit organisation, some order of battle stuff that will help me find out what that is. And then from there, do a bit more research specifically into that unit and see if there's anything that could reflect it on the battlefield. Now, the biggest thing that I want to do, especially when I'm writing selectors and units, is make it different. Otherwise, there's no point. You know, oh, you were the British infantry unit, because we opened a lot of this stuff up to the bolt action group. I don't know whether you guys saw this. We opened it up to the community and said, what do you want to see? And some people were saying some very specific British units. And I'd be like, okay, cool. Let me do some research. I'd research it and go, they were just a British infantry unit. Yeah. So, yes, I can do a 10-man British squad with a Bren gun and anti-tank grenades and 2 SMGs. Like, how is that any different from what you can already field? If I can already field it, there is no point, because you can already field it. It's just a waste of space. Yeah. Whereas I really like to add flavour and add something different, even if it's minute. You know, there's a few units that we've made that have had the really, really tiny detail, but it makes it different still.
Well, I think it's one of the valuable things about bolt action is some game systems, you got one rule book for the rules and then the other rule book for the special rules, and it all becomes a little bit bloated. What I like about bolt action is there's your core, which everyone can kind of take from and make their armies from. Past that, there's normally a little tidbits here and there just to give it enough flavour, but it's all pretty understandable and nice and grounded. There's no units with chainsaws and all that sort of thing. It's all pretty well balanced, let's say.
Apart from Sea Lion, because, roller skates.
Roller skates and longbows, they're OP. I want to take a Sea Lion list to a tournament at some point.
I would say, I was about to joke, well, imagine if you saw it at a tournament, but you see it at the tournaments all the time, it's actually pretty good. Yeah, thanks, guys. Next question. I really like some of the new units that have been added coming off of that question. I've seen, at least Gaz at tournaments before. Do you expect to see any of the units that have been added in this book as tournament scene regulars after this book drops?
Yeah,
I tell you, do you want to go for that, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a massive bias towards the Commandos, so I completely made them OP. So yeah, if anyone takes those, they're going to win. I hope so, because if any of these units end up in tournaments, I guess it means we got it right. And this balance thing, the two of us as writers coming from different sides of it. Yeah, I'm definitely the beer and pretzel with an erring towards history side of it. I've never played in a tournament, which is why I lean so heavily on playtesters, because I wouldn't for a second pretend I understand how tournaments work at the finer detail. So it's really important to get tournament players in on it. So if people are using these units in tournaments, it means that all the efforts that went into balancing the content so that there's something for casual gamers, there's something for historic gamers, and there's something for tournament gamers, then it worked. So I really hope it does get used. Yeah.
So from my perspective, I've played against Mark's original. The original source material for those commandos was the article he wrote. Now, I've played against that at several tournaments, especially against Mr. Paul Walker, if he's watching. We've had quite a few games at tournaments, me playing that bloody commando list, and it was nails then. It's going to be even better now. In this book, it makes it so much better, to the point where I've got half a commando army already painted up, and I'm eyeing up some additionals to actually run it. But as for playtesting and tournaments, I sneakily let one of my playtesters actually use the Luftwaffe list at a couple of tournaments of mine. Rich Gedney has used the Luftwaffe list. He did exceptionally well. He placed top 3 in both tournaments. These are 40-man tournaments. And this was brilliant, though, because I could really, I could take that information from an actual tournament and then sort of tone some of this down here and make this a bit better and sort of fiddle about with it. But like Mark said, I really hope, I'd like to see some of the lists rock up. I definitely think we're going to see Canadians, especially because of the flamethrowers. The commandos, 100% definitely going to see them. And then I think a few people have written off the Luftwaffe list because they can't quite. I don't think they've seen it yet. The penny hasn't dropped. They're like, oh, these units are all rubbish. Yes, but you can have a lot of them. Yeah, it's almost like I've unlocked the Soviet style for the Germans
without having to take Ostrom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. So I'd like to hope so. I really do. I think our aim with this whole thing was we want to make a book that everyone will want something, out of it. Your beer and pretzel guys, your historical gamers, and your tournament players.
Yeah, and the whole thing of us having different types of units which we're interested in. If I were to go to Bovington Tank Museum, the first tank I'd probably be drawn towards, the tanks I'd be drawn towards would be the Sherman and the Panzer IV, which to a lot of people, to the likes of Gaz there, would be quite dull. But to me, if it was the backbone of the army, that makes it exciting. If it was produced in its thousands and it saw action everywhere on every theatre, that makes it exciting to me. Instead of, they made 3 in a limited production run, not as much exciting. So this book has got elite units, it's got rubbish units you can have loads of, it's got the backbone of the army in terms of infantry, armour. We've tried to cover every base, so whatever your play style. If you collect British, Canadian or German in Western Europe late war, we hope we've got something for absolutely every play style.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, thanks for the answer on that one.
So to do a complete U-turn away from kind of tournament play and the tournament scene, are there any of the scenarios in the book that you're particularly pleased with and that you really can't wait to hear, people trying out and refighting these particular engagements?
There's one for me. so we've started this tradition, me and a group of friends, and each year we have a big game of bolt action. We go down to War Games Foundry in Newark, so it's not very far from a lot of us, and I'm quite good friends with Marcus down there, so he just basically lets us have the table, which is this 20-foot by 8-foot board, and it's beautiful undulating terrain and rivers running through it and all sorts. We fill it with scenery, and we have these massive games that last all day. And that has become like our sort of annual thing. Last year was a bit of a knockout because of COVID, but we've been trying to think of these fun games to play with just a load of miniatures, and you don't care who wins or who loses. And for me, the scenario I actually have the most fun writing and can't wait to see people play is the Kill Wittmann scenario. So basically, you got a bunch of tigers that are driving one end of the table to the other, and then you've got the Canadians and the British trying to kill Wittmann. You can play this in two different ways as well. So you've got your standard, I'll be the Germans, you be the Allies. And then you can both be the Allies, and the Germans are sort of automated. There's an AI system built into the scenario that lets the game control the Germans. And as a Canadian or a Brit, you're just try and see who can kill the most tigers.
I was actually, if you weren't going to bring that up, I was reading, going through this again before we started the interview, and I stumbled across Wittmann's rules, and oh boy, that's a model.
Yeah. I mean, it's a chunk of points, but damn.
do I get more things that I can sink points into for tournament lists? I'll have to give them a look later on.
Yeah.
So, Mark, was there any scenarios that you were particularly interested or proud of, or interested in seeing people play after the release of the book?
Yeah, I suppose I should answer. I think in terms of, I kind of like the city fighting stuff. I just think it makes for interesting maps, interesting ways of doing stuff. It can be quite, pretty close assault heavy. I like all that stuff. So the first scenario, which narratively picks up where the last book left off. So the last book is very heavy on the airborne assault on the night of the 5th of the 6th, and then into the beaches. So this is pushing off the beaches and straight into fighting in built-up areas on June the 6th. So that first scenario is about that. So you've kind of got a town map and loads of smoke from the naval bombardment. So the smoke rules for that sort of stuff. So it's all going to be very, very close quarters. And then scenario 4, which is the Battle of Douvres radar station. Just because it's two really cool and different armies. It's Luftwaffe Field Regiment and Commandos, so it couldn't be further in terms of its difference, that you've got one which is really point heavy, very elite, massively outnumbered, and hits really hard, versus rubbish dice spam. And which I think it makes with the sort of night rules on top of it, so it makes a cool scenario. And in reality, it was a really interesting battle as well in terms of what actually happened. And out of Gaz's one, the V weapon raid, I really like. Out of the ones he's done, which is this kind of quarry where you've got this boxed off map with 3 kind of cliff faces almost, and the Germans trying to stop the British zooming in and acquiring V weapon technology, which is. It's just different from all of the big battles, like Epsom and Windsor and all that sort of stuff that's in there as well.
There's a lot of varied stuff in here. So I think people who play this chronologically over a couple of weeks are going to have a good time at this one. I think it's one of the most spread out gameplay-wise, even though it's all in geographically a tiny area. You've collectively gone through and found really interesting points that aren't just line up 12 inches away from the deployment zone and kill each other.
Yeah. I think it would have been really easy, wouldn't it, to say scenario A is his, because people associate the Bocage country with Normandy. A lot of that was actually what was going on the western side of things with the Americans. Not to say the British and Canadians didn't encounter it, but it was more for the Americans. So we could almost have gone here. Scenario 1 is, here's some open fields, a la the Assaulter Hill 112. So here's open country fighting with tanks. Scenario 2 is round con, so it's city fighting with loads of rubble. There are your 2 scenarios. That covers it, and that was about 90% of the fighting. So we've done a few variations of that stuff, and then started to try and look at some niche stuff as well, for something a bit different.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question.
So, kind of, obviously, we mentioned at the start of the interview that you guys have both worked on other books, both for us and for other companies before. Did you draw particular inspiration from any previous campaign books in terms of kind of style, content, design, and, what you've done right or what someone else had done right? And if so, kind of, which ones would you say most influenced and informed you?
I'll take this one first because this first book, it's the first bit of writing, serious writing I've actually done. So it was all new to me. But Mark, just shut your ears for 2 seconds. So my favourite theatre books were Mark's books. So Battle of the Bulge, and New Guinea, and by the time I'd started writing with him, Battle of France had come out. But to a bigger extent, those 2 books were really, really what I gravitated towards, because they had everything I wanted in them. I wasn't too fussed about playing scenarios, really. I'm more interested in new armies, new units, new selectors, and those 2 books gave you a plethora of Australian, late French. I'm pretty sure my copy of Battle of the Bulge, open to the late war. So that's the sort of where I drew my inspiration from. But I'll hand over to Mark, who's done considerably more than me.
I don't. When Battle of the Bulge came out, I can't remember how many there were before. It was only about 3 or 4, I think. There weren't that many. So Battleground Europe and Ostfront, I had were the 2 I had. So they were the ones that blazed the trail and said, "Here's the format of how these books are going to go." So they were fantastic, and I kind of looked at that and thought, what would I want to do? Now I've got this, this omnipotent power to do what I want with Battle of the Bulge, and then kind of thought of some of the other game systems and thought, what do people most look forward to? And for me, it's new selectors and new units, same as Gareth on that. The scenarios are great. They tell a story. There's that narrative leading you through the hand of what happened historically, which is cool. But ultimately, if I'm going to buy one of these books, it's because I want a new way to field the forces. So it's new units and new selectors.
Yeah,
so with Battle of the Bulge, that was why I kind of made up the chaplain and intelligence officer stuff for that. And I thought, can we do more stuff like that? Can we do more generic? Here's something which a lot of other units can use, but a lot of other factions potentially can use in the future by altering it slightly. It was those early books that were the inspiration for me, I think. But there's also people as well, in that our man in Germany, Carsten, who back in the days of the first Bolt Action Forum, Invisible Officer, I kind of crossed paths with him and realised very quickly that he knows everything, absolutely everything about the German military in World War II, and has never got anything wrong. And any book I've done with German content would not be possible without Carsten. He's been absolutely fantastic. And likewise for this one, on the Canadian side of it, we've got Mark over in other Mark. There is another one over in Canada, who is ex-Canadian Army, is of the Canadian Artillery Museum, and has led Normandy battlefield tours, and plays Bolt Action. So there is literally, like, in terms of his CV, you cannot get any better than this guy. And he was responsible for the overwhelming majority of the Canadian content. I'd nearly say all of it, but it got doctored slightly for balance. So that was the only meddling. He kind of put it all there, and then it got edited a bit. So I think, as I've said on another podcast, if you like the Canadian content, that's him. If there's bits you don't like, that's probably me editing it. So apologies, on behalf of him. But yeah, those two guys have been absolutely fantastic in getting this book sorted.
That's kind of really cool to see, not only the books that you're following on from, but to kind of recognising the amount of expertise, not only from yourselves and knowledge from yourselves that it takes to put one of these together, but also, the people that we have in the hobby who are just that knowledgeable that you kind of never think it in a million years, and then the guy you're having a game with opens his mouth and, oh wow, you are actually the guy.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I'm not going to pause it for the last question, just because it's a nice simple one to end on. And that is simply, is there anything that you can reveal that you're working on that you'd like to share before we go? This can be potential future books, if there's anything you're allowed to or want to reveal, or if there's anything, personal projects, any armies that you are currently working on or anything like that.
Mine's probably quicker than yours.
Yeah, I was about to say, go on, you go first, Mark.
Well, we've got the American book, which we are in the editing phase at the moment, so it's complete. We're just going through all of the edits before it goes to print. After that, there's nothing signed up and contracted as such. We're talking about some stuff. We've got some ideas. In terms of armies and things, I've just taken the plunge into Black Seas. So, and just earlier today, I just watched the 1 hour 30 Warlord tutorial on how to rig a Black Sea ship, and I'm not a patient guy, so I might need a straitjacket, I think, after trying to do that. But
I can appreciate.
I'm not even going to attempt it. I'll just end up smashing all my hard work up with a hammer. So mine will not have bits of string around them because I think I'll end up crying.
I can entirely appreciate that, because I got access to those plastic sprues just before they went on general sale, because they wanted some painted examples from around the offices. And I painted mine, and they were like, has anyone got an unrigged one? And I'm like, yeah, I haven't got mine rigged at all because I can't be bothered. So like, can we use it for the rigging video? I'm like, you want to rig my stuff for me? By all means, do it for me. I do not want to do that.
I remember we got the proof copy of the rulebook, and I opened it, and the first page that I happened to fall on was the double page, or like 3 or 4 page rigging tutorial spread. And I just kind of closed the book, put that in the corner for a little bit.
See, so I really wanted to get into a naval game, and I wasn't sure what, and me and Mark have been talking about it. And obviously, you guys have gone in with Mantic, and so I ended up not having to bother doing rigging when their ship's already come pre-done. So yeah, that's what I've been working on, a bit of the Armada stuff, because obviously, it's the Black Seas rules and everything, but yeah.
Very nice. Well, we've got them both playing the naval games. Let's see if we can get our first naval campaign book in the future.
Well, I know absolutely bugger all about boats and stuff. So, as far as so we've just so we're in the editing phase of the US book. Obviously, we can talk about that because you guys sort of showed it off on the stream the other day. I'm writing a couple of books for Pen and Sword on how to paint World War II vehicles. So much if you've seen it out there. Andy Singleton's books on how to paint. I'm doing one of them, potentially another couple after that. So I'm quite excited to really get that out there. And so me and Mark we've got a few ideas bouncing around that we're going to have to wait and see if they come to fruition. But we're not ruling out, if we get asked to write another bolt action book, I think we'll take them up on it, won't we, Mark?
Yeah, it's a really enjoyable process. Each one of them's different. I think the only thing that's getting trickier and trickier is thinking of new units for the same armies. Because you're kind of like, right, so here we are again with late war Germany. And you're just like, right, did these guys use cats at all? Because, you're really starting to clutch at straws. Because it's, history is so rich, isn't it? And that you always find something. Every theatre you end up delving into, you always find something unique about what happened there. So I'd be delighted to dive into another one. I
want my Brazilian Expeditionary Corps, damn it.
Guys, you can do your Brazilian Traditionary Corps, but you've got to do Reichslabour service armed at the end of in 1945 for me in the brown greatcoats.
There's so much weird stuff out there that we need to do. The problem is a lot of it, if it hasn't already been captured in some of these theatre books, it's like I've got a couple of online article ideas that I've pitched to Paul, and he seems quite happy about them. So I just need to actually get around to writing them after everything else has happened. Yeah. There's a couple of little units that I really find fascinating that I'm writing up on and done some conversions out of Warlord plastics for. But looking painting wise, I'm doing the ships. I'm converting and painting a full French bike army, so motorcycle army. Because I was flicking through Battle of France and realised how many units can take motorcycles now, and went, oh, there's a bit of fun there. And then sort of priced it up and went, oh my god, this is going to cost me a fortune. So one of my good friends, Rich Humble, decided to design me some French bikes and print me a load. So that saved me. It was still costly, but not as much as if I'd done it on its own. You'll see that at a tournament whenever we get one.
Well, fingers crossed that one you were talking about not the new year anymore. In a while goes to fruition, because that one sounds fun. So
yeah, can I pitch that out?
Yeah, absolutely. If either of you have any plugs, we're winding down now, so go for it.
So yeah, I'm planning on doing. It's called the Big Bolt Action Weekend. It's going to be weekend of June 5th and 6th. Quite apt. It's Saturday and a Sunday, so 2 separate days. Basically I wanted to do one-day events for play, but weekend events tend to be better for people travelling. So, when the Welsh guys, the Scottish, anyone from down south can come up for the whole weekend and get a load of games in. So the Saturday is going to be a 1,000-point open play tournament. So that is literally, any of you guys have been to my tournaments before, take whatever you want. I'll vet the lists. If it's too strong, I'll tell you to change it. But it's, take all the campaign books. We spent hours writing these blooming things. We need to be able to use the units inside them. And then the second day is called Clash of Steel, and that is a tank war event. I'm writing some fun rules for it in some different scenarios, but I want to see now. Obviously, Marcus, we're used to seeing big armor whenever you play in a tournament anyway. But this one, I'm really trying to emphasize the point of infantry will be next to useless unless they have an anti-tank weapon. You really want to take tanks. Tanks are what today's all about. It's a bit of a laugh, bit of relax. It's also going to be, importantly for me, a fundraiser as well. So all proceeds, and we're going to have some extra stuff and hopefully some good prize support towards it to raise money for the Royal Air Force Association. So all the money I'm making, all the money we're getting from the event is going to them. So, win-win. You get a great weekend of gaming and you get to support a great charity as well.
Well, I'm sure Warlord Tournament team will be more than happy to show up to that one if only we knew who to talk to.
If only we could remember who they were. And to be honest, that might be the only thing that gets me to go back to Lincoln that isn't Christmas or a family birthday.
No comment.
Right, so unless there's anything else anyone wants to say before we go, I think that's it.
Oh, my only one is very quick. I've already touched on it anyway, but just a thanks to all the playtesters for all of these, because it's a cliche, but they are the unsung heroes of it. We reach out to the community. We ask people to get stuck in. There's no expectation. There's no just because you've joined the Bolt Action Facebook group, therefore there is pressure for you to contribute. Obviously, there's nothing like that. But for the individuals who do offer their services, get stuck in, help out and help us iron out all these problems and all these flaws. The products only get better and better because of these people who are giving up their time for it. So just a big thanks to all our playtesters.
Sounds good to me, and a big thanks to both of you gentlemen for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for answering our questions. They've been very enlightening. See a little bit how the sausage is made, and it's been very nice.
Thank you very much.
So, I think we are back. You should be able to hear us again. Yeah. So, we are here to answer any follow-up questions on that.
A little bit of
And
reverb.
yeah, so we'll be able to answer any questions you have further off that. I see there's been a little bit in the chat. So obviously this is nothing new to me and Marcus. We recorded that the other day. It was nice to see it back. I think Gaz and Mark were really good guests. They, I think they had a lot to say. I really liked the segment where they were talking about kind of like where it starts, like how Gaz got into it. Because I think a lot of the time, so much in the industry, like I've been interested in wargaming since I was pretty young. It's always been kind of almost mystifying, which sounds geeky, but it is geeky.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting to see like a potential route into the bread and butter of what people actually play with.
Well, I mean, how many kind of rubbish, completely unbalanced Mary Sue like homebrew fan codex army lists did you write when you were like 12?
None.
Really?
Literally none. I was more of a painter than a writer.
See, whereas I've got a whole
Never
bunch.
been much for the fluff side of things.
I've got a whole bunch, and it's kind of embarrassing looking back on it. But it's kind of
that's what childhood's for.
Yeah.
Future trauma.
Yes. When I was kind of growing up, I kind of thought this something like that would be my dream job, and I slipped, not do really badly at university, and suddenly I'm here.
Yeah.
Good God, how'd it happen?
I think the only other thing I wrote rules for was Rat Cavalry. Back when I played Skaven.
Nice.
Yeah.
Ravelry.
Really easy to convert. Before they made the official models, man. They took my idea, is what I'm saying. No one had ever come up with larger rats.
What we need is a bigger rat.
Bigger rats. I am the big rat that gives the commands. So yeah, well, one of the questions I saw that was going there from... Where's the name? That's not the right one. Where am I looking?
So Max can see the chat. I can't because of our setup. So we're relying on Max reading your names.
Go back forwards. What's the word on any new miniatures being released in conjunction with the new book? Well, the book's already in the hands of some people, and there's not been any new miniatures yet. So that basically answers that question. Yeah. We can say there is new stuff coming on the way.
Very exciting.
We still can't say what, despite our funny jokes last time. We're legitimately not allowed to say it right now. It's at the point now where we've received them from the plastic company, and I had them in hand the other week. We've both seen them in the flesh now, as well as a few painted examples. Yep. They are gorgeous. Getting very excited for them. I think many of you might be able to figure out what they might be.
But we can't say.
Yeah. Obviously, let me know in chat what you think it is, and we'll pretend not to know. So that's going to be really exciting. I think they are one of the nicest plastic kits we've done yet. There's quite a lot of modularity as well.
Every plastic kit we do, which I really like, goes from strength to strength. I mean, I've obviously seen the sprues, not had a chance to build any yet. Be interesting to see how they stack up to, say, the Winter Germans.
Because that's your favourite, isn't it?
Oh, gold standard kit for me. I love the Winter Germans so much.
I like a lot of our later German stuff. Like the DAC sprue goes together really handy.
DAC does, the SS sprue goes together nicely. And the good thing I actually like is the DAC sprue are not...
Scots!
Scots! Just loads of... No English, no British, no
era! No Scots throughout the ages!
That's orange. Warlord Games now only makes Scottish models.
Or guys called Scott.
Ooh, yes! We like Workshop's Armour Through the Ages, just a guy called Scott through the ages.
If you could make one Scott, who would you make?
Scott Pilgrim.
I'd make Emmett Scott from Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Nice. I would make Scott Pilgrim just because that was the first name that sprang to mind.
That's awful. That's awful.
I liked the movies when I was, in my kind of vaguely sceney phase at the age of about 15. I don't think they're good movies, but no. What else have we got? I'm seeing by your face, Max, we've got some bizarreness in the chat.
Regarding Marcus's horrible unbalanced stuff, I think this might be to do with strong units in the past, because I don't think we've really referenced that lately.
Who was that asking that?
Amish Dig. That might be some part of the chat. We were able to disappear for a couple of times. We were doing a few errands during the final section there. I can neither confirm nor deny my activities with D&D in my early 20s on the same topic.
Yes, that's regarding the horrible unbalanced kind of codexes and stuff, I'd say.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I think everyone's done it. You sit there with a character sheet, and you're like, I don't need to roll. I can just give it this, and then you look at it like, I've just made a Terrasse.
I've diluted not fun.
Behold, essence of power game.
Do we make Sean Connery from Bridge Too Far?
No.
I thought he was one of the ones in the character pack for the British Airborne.
He is, but it's not based on Sean Connery. I think it's kind of more.
Oh, is it like a historical representation of the same
I
character?
don't think he's based on.
Just because someone's saying you should make a Sean Connery for Scots, we should make miniatures of from Bridge Too Far. Will She? Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think we do any of that, do we?
No,
because we do things that are definitely for like a Bridge Too Far scenario, but I don't think we actually do a movie representation.
Famous
of
Scots that we do. It's not a Scot, but he's Scot adjacent. Russell Crowe in Gladiator.
Okay, Scott adjacent. That's pretty torturous. I'm a big fan of that.
But yeah, no, I think that'd be quite cool. We actually do a ton of Scots as well.
We do a ton of Russell Crowes.
It's our company's love affair with Russell Crowe is well documented and a little strange, but it's just kind of how it is. You come to Warlord Games, and obviously you get your mandatory your induction day. Then you get your Russell Crowe tattoo, and obviously your Russell
injection,
your Russell Crowe duvet sheet. Yeah, we all sleep under.
This is very unusual. They've sculpted him 4 times now as a company.
We all sleep with Russell Crowe body pillows.
Wow. I'm supposed to tell them. Yeah. So yeah, there's a couple of good suggestions for Scots we'd like to see. Yeah, but like I say, I've seen the new sprues. Probably going to do a new army of them when they come out.
Yeah,
which is going to be fun.
I think we should be able to do an unboxing or a reveal.
I wouldn't be too surprised if we can't do it next week.
Yeah.
Have something a little bit more tangible. We need to check. All the big wigs have been in a big meeting today, so we haven't been able to see what's available to actually get through today, but hopefully something. And obviously, we are working from home at the moment, so it'll be a case of possibly come in at some point, grab a few.
Yeah. I mean,
and the other big thing is the cameras aren't that good, so I'd want to pre-photograph them.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to do some slides and things.
Yeah. But I got ideas on how we could do that.
Max the cunning man, master of technology.
At least one technology, the wheel.
Can't drive, you're not master of the wheel. You can't ride a bike.
Any hints for a nation? I'm going to say no. There's nothing we can really say that wouldn't just give it away, and no. They have rifles.
Yeah.
There you go.
Rifles, and I'm reliably informed that they wear uniforms.
Yeah. So as much of a cop-out answer that is.
That rules out plastic partisans.
Yeah, like I say, there's not really a hint we can give away that wouldn't give the game away, so no.
Just wait and see.
I mean, the only other hint is I think we have actually released a picture on our web store at one point and nobody noticed. Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you, but
I'm not going to tell you where.
I don't think it's up anymore, but there was a picture released a couple of weeks ago on the web store. So it's been out there if you've been looking. And like I say, it's not far off now. Yeah. I don't have a release date. Early March?
Yeah, thereabouts.
Yeah.
I think it's going to go up for pre-order before the end of this month, would be my anticipation. That's a guess based on what we know of how stuff works inside the company.
Rifle-toting Scots confirmed. There we go.
Again, not any particular nation, just guys with rifles all called Scot. You can already do that with your army. Why would we release a plastic kit for Scots? We've not got enough Garys.
Amish Stig's saying there's a nice looking winterboard behind Marcus. Is that the one we saw on the Ostruppen on the other week? We played a game on it.
Yes, it is. This is the game that we played on the board we played on. We got the... That was when you actually stomped me, wasn't it? We played on the Bacage.
I can't remember.
We played on the Bacage board, which is off to the left.
That was a draw. The tank war was a victory for myself. I can't remember who won that one.
No, you beat me on this
one.
Because I had my pioneers come on from the side.
Oh, and I just ignored them.
No, they just rolled horrifically.
Oh, yes, yeah, I do remember.
That was just dice luck, just absolutely sunk me, that game. A good game, but one of those.
Yeah. Apparently there's something in the Discord. Apparently someone's found something in the Discord, so maybe that... I don't personally use the Discord because only so many hours in the day and all that, and I do a lot of them at work already. Yeah, so I'm on the Facebook and that'll do me.
Yeah, exactly. You might see us occasionally kind of popping in and out of the Facebook groups and, just chatting hobby, because we are hobbyists outside of work. But yeah, the Discord, unfortunately, we're both customer service guys. A little bit too much like a busman's holiday there.
Speaking of hobby, I know you picked up a few. Have you had a chance to put any paint on the American Civil War sprues?
I have.
Because I know you've got some.
I've been cracking on very slowly with them.
Because you're Union boys, aren't you?
Yeah, Union. I'm actually doing some New York Irish, and I'm thinking about doing some US coloured troops.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Which was that was the term they were brigaded under, was USCT, US coloured troops, if memory serves. obviously
That's
this
cool.
Perry's do some separate heads for them in 28mm.
Can
but
you
at this
just
scale-
fill from them? Because someone's
Yeah.
just asked if we've got any new vehicles on the way now.
Yes. This scale, I think, there's no need for a separate head. It's just a different paint job. And if you look at kind of pictures, it's kind of a painting cheat because I'm lazy. If you look at pictures of African American black folks at the time, most of them have got black hair, so I don't need to worry about this guy's. I've got two blonde guys in a row. Nope. If they've got a beard, it can go black. If it's got a hair, it can be black hair. Because that's what I seem to see in all the pictures. So. And it's all really, so they're a really tasty unit already in black powder, like massively cool. And Max has got
So
fancy.
So this has been announced. This isn't like a new announcement. This is a look at the sprues. Plastic M5s. So this is based off the Italieri kit. I'm imagining probably 172.
Yes.
Possibly 135. But it's been rescaled for 156. I don't imagine the focus is fantastic, but you get an idea for what's going on there. Some of the interesting features on this one is
Extra machine guns.
No, it's the M5.
Ah, good. It's the Stuart.
Up. There we go. So, there are 4 crew on that one. I think they're all new sculpts as well, which is really useful.
Nice.
Yeah, so we've got, I think, 2 Americans, 1 British and 1 Soviet. So even if you've got existing tank forces, I love having my tank commanders out.
Yeah.
So I'm actually quite excited to have more Soviet tank commanders.
I mean, tank commanders should always be out as well in combat, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah, unless there's snipers about.
Yeah, I mean, for the period.
Or heavy bombardment.
Yeah, unless you're under, like, direct fire from above, or you're in a city, head out.
So yeah, like I say, this one's already out, at least on pre-order, so you can order one today, and the tank commander. I think they're £18. It's really good value kit as well, considering it is a full tank, couple different options, and yeah, just overall really nice.
Looking at it as well, because obviously our partnership with Italieri is awesome. Looking at it, I can see that looks like a really friendly kit.
Actually,
is it
produced by SK Tooling? So this might be in-house. Actually, I might be talking rubbish. I genuinely don't know, but like I say, you can have a look at the sprues. It's kind of coming through a little bit. I'm going to actually step away so it's less me and Friend to kind of distract the shot. You kind of get an idea for what we're getting on the sprue. There's loads of extra bits.
Is that Cullen on there? Hedgerow cutter?
Can't tell, actually. Where are you looking? Oh, yeah, looks like it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so you can, like I say, nice little kit, this one. I've got a couple of them that I'm hoping to paint up and add to my Soviet force.
How many Stuarts? Tell the nice people, Max, how many Stuarts your Soviets have. Tell the nice people.
3. This will be my first M5. Yeah. So, it looks cool, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And that's to go with my 6 T-34s and yada 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 yada. Lots of tanks.
Yes, lots of tanks.
So yeah, something new for everyone there. We haven't shown off any new previews for a little bit, so hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, I got a couple of these. I can't wait to get one painted up.
But I'd say it's really interesting as well to see.
Oh, you got 2 different types of turret.
It's kind of really interesting as well to see something like this, for example, is what I would say it's a multi-purpose kit. Yes, it builds a Stuart. You can't turn that into a squad of French infantrymen. But that's a kit that works for multiple nations, which I really like. That's it's something. It's kind of a bit of something for everyone. So kind of looking forward to seeing a few of those on the table, or not, as the case may be, because I hate playing Stuarts. What's the problem?
The weird ones are fine. These ones have like a hull mount and a light AT.
Normal Stuarts, like light tanks, are the bane of my existence. Weirdly, if I'm bringing a tank, I always bring something ridiculously heavy, obviously.
Yeah.
And I find that mediums, I'll pop the mediums quite easily. If I'm fighting a heavier and a super heavy, then we're going to bounce shots off each other and it's luck of the dice. I have reliably atrocious dice luck against light tanks.
Yeah.
I think the worst one I was at the Juggernauts tournament last year, at the start of last year, February time. And I had a Yag Panther. Yag Panther, point blank range, rear armour on a Stuart, hits, nothing.
You just went straight through in real life.
It was through and through.
It didn't do any damage.
Yeah, I'm just going, that's kind of pretty typical of my experience shooting at little tanks, so I can't stand them. So, yeah. So, American Civil War stuff, again, is a slow burn one.
Yeah. You've been asked by Haggard, what paints are you using for the Union?
For the Union, so for the coats, I am using dark Prussian blue from Vallejo.
Smart money.
From the trousers, for the sky blue trousers, I'm using Army Painter's Wolf Grey, which is their Space Wolf Grey equivalent. So not grey at all. And I was kind of worried initially it wouldn't be blue enough, but at, at sort of epic battle scale, that works really nicely. I hit both coat and trousers with a blue wash, just blue tone, to make that shade pop. The flesh is I can't remember what I'm using for the USCT guys. It was an Army Painter test shop that came unlabeled, and that works really well for them. But for the it's just Vallejo basic skin tone for the white folks, and then just my various babe blonde and various woody browny colours for different colours of hair, and some ginger dudes and all sorts in there.
Very nice. Let me see if I can get some painted for next week then.
Yeah,
catch up.
Confederates, you're looking at Confederates, aren't you? So you've kind of got a few more choices. I mean, the one kind of nods to, hey, not everyone was completely uniform. Besides the different hats, was I kind of went across, because it's only like 2 brush strokes. Everyone in the unit has there's like 3 or 4 different colours of shoes.
Different colours of moustache.
Yeah, some guys have just dyed their moustache.
The pink one's the commander. Army Stig. Oh, I'm sure this has been mentioned to death, but the Soviet winter cheat sheet Arm 12 is mislabeled. They're PTRD arms, not LMG arms. Okay, I'll get that one passed on. Yeah. I know I've built that kit and built plenty of LMGs and anti-tank rifles.
How many anti-tank rifles have you got?
I've got the maximum you can take. I've got 3. So the new set, I'm looking at it like, oh, yay! More things! I literally can't take any more. But they're nice sculpts. I like the guy who's propped up against the wall, bracing the PTRD.
They look good.
Because those things kick like a mule.
Oh yeah, they're really cool guns, actually.
Did you see the man whose shirt you're wearing? Did the firing of the... the boys?
Yes, I did.
Because that has a reputation for kicking
really
to death, and he said it was alright.
Well, did you see the muzzle blast?
Yeah.
Covered in mud.
But you said it didn't hurt, on the kickback, which I found interesting, because everyone says that gun's a nightmare to shoot.
It's really interesting. I'm kind of the opinion that it's kind of hard to do in bolt action, because it's all a bit compressed when it comes to armour penetration values. I'm almost of the opinion the anti-tank rifle wants to be, just a bit more oomphy, but I can't explain why. I just love anti-tank rifles. They're cool as hell.
Fair enough.
Just it's something about a great big bolt action rifle.
I think +2 is about right for them. Yeah. Considering your almost 4 centimeter AA guns are +3 pen when you're firing
that's
AP.
What I mean by the compression. There's no middle ground there to find. It's more kind of me going, God, if only we were playing on D20. But no, that's very cool. I'm a big fan of anti-tank rifles. I think probably for me the PTRD is my favourite.
Is that the Russian
Soviet one? Yeah, it's just the super simple.
Mm-hmm. Because they made it in both semi and bolt, I believe.
They can a couple of versions of the same barrel and same.
And I think maybe the semi one was way better, but they found, you know what, it's kind of wasted effort. Yeah. And it's cheaper to make the bolt actions. So we just made loads of bolt actions. Because every company had like 27 teams.
Wow.
Yeah, they had the highest proportion of AT rifles because they were aware that they had issues with their armoured force at the time.
I mean, actually, that's the next
massive stopgap.
On the subject of armour, that's the next thing I want to do for bolt action.
Yeah.
So there's some kind of talk rumbling around the office.
This is the tank war competition.
Yeah, like an intra-office.
Yeah, I think we can talk about that. If you can't, then oopsie.
Yeah, it's kind of a
you can't blame it on me. My nameplate's not on, so you don't know who said it.
Yeah, Max Asen has a mustache.
Yeah, I don't know who that
That's
guy
the real
is.
reason he's shaved. He's on the run. But no, so I obviously some of you regulars may know I play a fair bit of War Thunder. Hit me up with 420th Squadron RAF. I'm A-stoked. Hit me up. I've recently been kind of getting back into German tanks. I've been just doing a ton of planes recently, kind of jets recently. I needed something to kind of go, let's chill out. Let's not have to worry about my radar warning receiver and my flares and things like that. So picking up German tanks again. And I kind of noticed...
running around with the tanks with the HOTAS.
Yeah. No, God, no. I actually don't play with my HOTAS for War Thunder.
Okay.
You're at a disadvantage versus mouse and keyboard players.
Okay.
Something to do with the inertia return. So my HOTAS is for DCS and things. And Football Manager.
Guitar Hero.
Yeah. That probably worked quite well. I'm going to try that.
I'd be Dark Souls on a Guitar Hero. No, and one guy did.
But no, so one of the things I noticed, one of the German premium tanks is a T-34-76 with its captured one. And all they've done is painted it Dunkelgelb and chuck the German cupola on there.
Yeah, quite a common one, that one.
And I kind of really like that, so I think I might pick up a T-34-76. I've got enough Panzer...
Which era?
I've got enough Panzer III.
Probably do it on the Mickey Mouse ears one, because then you still have a hatch for your loader.
Yeah, that works.
Because it's the hexagon... what's 5?
Pentagon.
I wanted to say centagon.
That'd be a
5. Yeah. Pentagonal one. It had the 2 ears that stick up, and because they're both perfectly circular, the Germans nicknamed it the Mickey Mouse.
This one is the hexagonal one.
So the 43 model.
Yeah, flat back.
Okay.
And
because the first model was this single bin opening kind of method, where both loader and commander would stick their head out the same thing.
Yeah.
But nothing resembling a yeah.
Yeah. No.
Mike, we're talking about the other one, War Thunder.
Yes.
Yeah. We're talking about tanks in general, but
yeah. So I think that's what I'm gonna kind of do for if I do get in on this tank war thing. I think I am just might just do a German Beutepanzer force. So I mean, I can either play them as Russians.
Just play Germans or play Russians.
I've already got a huge German tank war army.
Get out of my life. That's my Soviets.
I mean, I've already got a huge German tank war army, and what better way to add to my German tank war army than to add some not Germans to it? Yeah, so I'm kind of thinking, maybe there's enough pictures of KV2s that have been captured, and again, some of them didn't bother, but sometimes you've got a Panzer III turret, also a Panzer III controller on there.
Fully automated breakdown machine.
Yes! Yeah, it's Germans practicing for their Panthers. Yeah, so I'm chuck one of those now. I can either use that as something like a Tiger, or I can just use it as KV2 and play the Soviet rules.
Yeah.
Or try and cry to the rules writers until Alessio lets me use captured vehicles going the other way. Because there's nothing, obviously a lot of people can take, like partisans can take captured vehicles, and your small minor Axis allies get a single German vehicle.
I don't see the point, honestly. It's one of those things where for tournament play you'll never need it, and for casual play, who needs the permission, just do it.
Yeah, true, there is that. Anything in the chat? I noticed you kind of pulling a face at something there. Like,
oh, just someone saying, who was that? Stig saying, feels Marcus' pain on the dice luck. Pershing point blank on a Hanomag. Roll a 1, 2 auto fail to penetrate. 2 5-man squads of SS with Panzerfaust piled out, and the rest is history. I think we've all been there. Tanks are a mixed bag.
It's always the worst timing as well. It's always like, I mean, in fairness, if it was good timing, you wouldn't be point blanking a Hanomag with a Pershing, but
I hate running anything that costs more than 250 points. It's my tank rule. That's what I found. Anything more expensive than that, and it's just too hit and miss.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I just got a huge thing for my my really big tanks.
I mean, they're cool, and I like them.
I think the next German tank I might do at some point down the line will want to get access to an airbrush again, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I really struggle to do my camo in a way that I'm happy with without an airbrush. Is either like probably a Jag Tiger, or maybe another Jag Panther, but do it in a different camo, because I kind of painted my last Jag Panther in a rush.
Yeah.
Stuff like something really big and stupid. Maybe even a Sturm Tiger.
Sturm Tiger.
It's the one with the naval rocket water on the front.
That thing's dumb. Looks cool.
I've got 3 verbal bins and bits in my house.
Have you seen that tank meme where it's a picture of the Sturm Tiger, and it's in desperation the Germans made a tank which makes spooky noises to scare them out of the Ardennes.
Hate little eyes. It's something we see occasionally in War Thunder, is anything with a big muzzle, eyes decalled on the sides of the turret.
Nice.
Sure. I hate it so much.
I hate online games, so sure.
You hate video games.
Mike's asking, how are things at Warlord? Mystery life. They ain't too bad. A lot of us are working from home. Busy. We're catching up after the Christmas rush. There was a little bit of a delay. We are fast on the heels of that at last, which is good. And I'd say we're close to business as usual.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
close as you can do in a
lockdown. For our European customers as well, obviously we have that whole ridiculous situation over Christmas with the border closures. And, obviously Brexit happened and everyone was kind of going, what's going to happen with customs? Kind of a brief note on that for our friends in Europe. Everything we send to Europe is going to be sent delivery duty paid. So it basically means we're absorbing the kind of the customs hit that would come from us not being in the EU.
Except for a few things.
Yes.
We're working through a couple of things. Orders under £20 don't need to.
Cool.
so they're probably still being sent a different way. The government dropped us in it at the last possible second, as I'm sure everyone is aware. So we'll be seeing what's going on that front.
But rest assured, basically, we've got plans, and we're going to keep having plans to make sure our friends in Europe don't get absolutely hammered.
I'm not correcting you to sound like a smarty.
Yeah.
I'm just there have been changes that I found about this afternoon. So it's another one that's not like, oh no, it's actually worse. No, it's actually better for the customers because it means we get to save some money, which means we get to make more stuff, and they shouldn't have to pay any inputs on that one.
Sweet.
So
pretty much business as usual. I mean, this is the first. We're going to be only going to be here like every Monday for the rest of the lockdown, pretty much.
Yeah, a good chance next week's might be from home. I was only in today because I had some stuff to do in the office that needed physical intervention, so we organised it that somebody was not in the office today, so I could go in. Marcus was only here for the Twitch after our boss went home, because we can only have 2 people in the office, so we are taking this with the utmost seriousness, hence the setup kind of thing.
It's quite funny, actually. We had to do a COVID risk assessment, obviously, for occupancy of every room in the building. And we're a 4-man team in customer service, plus the 2 extra store guys that we're kind of training up as well. And then our
3-man team if you're not counting either of the store guys.
4-man, me, you, Lorenzo, Connor. He went on leave for a week.
Who are you calling the second store guy then? Because I thought you were talking about Connor, because Connor has
Little Connor and Big Dave.
Yeah. I didn't know Dave was getting involved.
Yeah, I think he's getting trained up as well. But anyway, long story short, we've got like a 4-man team. We come in to see the risk assessment's been done. Office, 2-man occupancy.
So like I say, we're making it work. And tomorrow I'm at home, which is going to be very nice.
Yeah, so am I.
Which means tonight I can stay up. I haven't got anything to watch. I just finished the show. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll paint some models. Break a habit of a lifetime.
Yeah, I was going to say, you've never done that before.
Mike's there saying, I bet you 2 don't have to sort the actual physical packing and posting. I'm going to get a little bit defensive there. I started in mail order, and me and Marcus were some of the first people back after the first lockdown when the company closed. Marcus did CS, and I did mail order, because I was trained in both.
Yeah.
So I've done plenty of packing.
I mean, Max is much more trained than me. Max was basically a supervisor, like a secondary supervisor on mail order.
For a little bit,
For quite a while.
And then the actual supervisor got moved off department, and then another person came. But it's all been a bit shuffly this year. I've done my time.
Customer service at Warlord, one of the things that is central to our job and our understanding of the job is we're all cross-trained on at least a couple of different areas of the business, So, for example, I can get given a picking sheet, go down to mail order, and pick and pack and send that order.
Yeah.
We can all do that on customer service, and we will do that occasionally. If, for example, I don't know, say someone's like, I've got a present for my dad, but it's an emergency and I completely forgot and it needs to be here, in 3 days.
Yeah.
We'll go, all right, let's work out a solution. And often the quickest way to do it is we take the order, we print it off ourselves, we go and we just pick it and have it sent.
Oh, yeah. I got Haggard asking, are we going to sell the Armada Dwarfs? Maybe. I don't know.
The Dwarf Fleet? I think so. I think we're basically going to carry that whole range, is my understanding.
I genuinely haven't got a clue.
But
are we allowed to talk about that?
Well, you can't even mouth things to me off camera because we're facing each other and we've both got a camera on each other.
I don't see why we couldn't say this one, so I'm going to roll the dice.
He's gone rogue.
Yeah, no, I think this is fine, because we were talking about it in the office today. So obviously we've been dispatching the Dave Taylor and Mel Bowes terrain shooter books.
Lots of people have been asking about them.
Yeah, some people have been asking when those are coming, if they're coming. We're down to about 50 orders left that need to be shipped of the original Kickstarter.
Yep.
After that goes, we're going to be putting them up. There's going to be a brief pre-order just so we can organise everything and make sure that the orders get into the hands of people and sort out anything like that. We don't have a price yet. We don't have an exact date. I'd expect them to come out in February, because I'm planning on getting one myself. And if that's got me in trouble, then I think that's fine.
Boo-hoo.
Yeah,
it's
a thing that we were always going to sell. So it's coming. I can't wait.
Keep an eye on the website, on the newsletter, on social media, because that's obviously where we do most of our release announcements. It's kind of the easiest place to find it. I did actually notice a lot of people asking about it. There's been a really popular uptake on that, so I might have to have a look myself.
If you've read the most recent Wargames Illustrated, in the front where they do their reviews of new stuff, they had a whole page spread on that, and the review for that was glowing. So I really can't wait to get on that one.
Yeah.
Mike, I see you joined us a bit late. Make sure to check this one out. You've missed all the good stuff. This is pretty good stuff, but There was an interview with the authors of the most recent book.
Yes.
Good stuff. If you know anyone who couldn't make it but would be interested, please drop them a link. The Twitches are held up for a week.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. Mike, anything new planned for Cruel Seas? Not that I've heard. Oh, and someone, I can't remember who, was asking any love for Minor Nations this year. Probably someone.
We have just dropped a massive part French resistance.
Yeah. So I don't know. We don't work studio. Almost certainly some nation will get it, but I don't know if that's going to be for bolt action, black powder houses, SPQR. Something will almost certainly surprise you.
We're not quite as out of left field as the Perrys, who just kind of popped up with. Yeah. By the way, we've been doing Franco-Prussian War plastics for fun.
We did just casually drop a new scale.
You've got me there.
So with something old, with something new, we'll see you all next week, probably from home.
Yep. Stay safe, everybody.
Stay safe and have a great week.